Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance at the Super Bowl and all of the fallout, Fox News, Tyler Cameron, Serena Williams, all of this, okay? Now, when I first watched the performance, I obviously thought it was stunning. I never in a million years thought anyone, even Fox News, would try to rebrand that performance as boring or as the worst, this is a quote, worst Super Bowl halftime performance ever. Ever. And to me, that's insane, not just because of all of the symbolism that I will get into, but because, so the stats just came out, 133.5 million people tuned in to watch this performance, and that is the record. That is the most of all time. That is more than Michael Jackson. It's more than last year. It's more. The revolution will be televised. You got the right time, but the wrong guy. Also, the way he dragged out wrong guy. I loved it. It was juicy. It was crunchy. Obviously, that's a reference to Trump. I heard that Trump actually walked out as soon as Kendrick started performing, or when he saw the setup had something to do with an American flag. I don't know if he was really like set up to be offended or he's Trump. I don't think he actually cares about anything. Did you see him sign the executive order to get rid of paper straws this morning? He's like, yeah, we're gonna go back to plastic straws. I think that should be fine. I think that should be fine. Were his words. Anyways, I don't think he actually cares. I don't think he was like outraged and walked out. I think he was just like, oh, black man about to perform music. Me no care. And he walked away. Anyways, Uncle Sam, Samuel L. Jackson, obviously a reference to Uncle Tom. And I think it's very interesting to see Uncle Sam interrupt Kendrick, be like, okay, is too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. Immediately after that, Kendrick Lamar has them like line up for Humble, and their heads are bouncing in a way that portrays obedience. And there's also a moment where their hands are like their fingers are tingling like this in a way that to me looked like typing on a computer, and it just seems like dull obedience, like falling in line, not thinking, which I also think, I had made a video saying that, his anti-capitalist performance should not inspire you to buy his jeans, in so many words. And then some people were like, is it really an anti-capitalist performance? Which is a valid point. And even when I had watched my video back, I was like, I'm not sure if that's exactly the word I meant, but that is the feeling that I meant, so I left it. But Fox News has called this performance corporate capitulation, is the quote. So in that vein, I actually don't feel bad for calling it anti-capitalist, not just because like he doesn't make money for performing at the Super Bowl. Also, like Super Bowl performers do not get paid to perform. I'm not sure. I've heard two things. I've heard that they don't get paid and also that they have to pay to do it. I think they get their travel expenses covered, but they don't actually get paid, which makes me wonder about dancers getting paid. I'm not really sure about that, to be honest. I'm sure I could find out, but I digress. When I say anti-capitalist performance, what I'm referring to is, first of all, when you see Uncle Sam say, okay, you need to be less reckless, less loud, and then the next song is Humble and everybody's nodding their head in what appears to be like drugged obedience, like people are not awake. And I know Fox is like so anti-woke, but this is where that really stems from, is the sedation of like obedient consumerism. And I think that it's very ironic that one of the first headlines I saw the morning after the Super Bowl, and on TikTok thus far, and on the medias, is everybody's freaking out about Kendrick Lamar's jeans. Jeans. After all that he just did, all of that mastermind, making the whole field into a game controller, and then hopping around that little X and saying game over, and saying Drake in the camera, and having the entire stadium saying A minor, and also pushing down during, I know you like 'em young, as in like little kid, like referencing when you put your hand down beside your hip to show that the kid that you're talking about is so small That was the choreo on I Hear You Like I'm Young. And you said, jeans, cute jeans. You're cute jeans. Jeans? Where are they from? Jeans? Oh my God. Here's the thing. The reason some people are like, why is this about race? I saw mostly white women immediately after. Where are those jeans from? Oh, they're from Celine. Oh, I'm buying the jeans. Videos of them going to the website and buying the jeans. Hashtag Super Bowl. Hashtag Kendrick Lamar. Do you know what happens to those hashtags? Guess what floats to the top? White girls buying jeans. Guess what goes to the bottom? Black people explaining symbolism. That's how the internet works, you guys. One video, oh my gosh, where are those jeans from? And then we all find out that's very different than what I've been seeing, which is a trend of drugged obedience. You are trained to have this covetous gaze, and your focus is on that. Also, Kendrick has been wearing that style of jean this whole past year. And if you haven't been really critically watching him over the past year, that's weird to me. It's weird to me for somebody to have one of the greatest rap beef arcs of all time and you weren't looking at him. And then as soon as you see him in jeans, you make it all about the jeans. I digress. I'm not going to go into this. I've already made videos about this. But it does bother me that when things are so deep, people's main takeaway can still be consumerism. What can I buy? What can I buy to engage with this? Instead of like really sitting and thinking about what that performance was and what it meant and the Uncle Sam of it all and the, are you really about to do it? Like consulting a panel of Black women before you go and do the thing. That was also so cool. And the choreo, I'm pretty sure Charm LaDonna choreographed it. If you thought that performance was boring, it's not just a lack of understanding of things like, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. It's a lack of interest. I'm going to say that again. Because when you see Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam, if you don't automatically make the connection of Uncle Tom, would you not hear him say that's too ghetto and things like this is the great American game? Do you really know how to play the game? And maybe look something up? Not if curiosity is dead. Then you're going to look for jeans. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, same thing, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. And also Samuel L. Jackson saying, oh, you did the cheat code, you brought your homies. Scorekeeper, deduct one life. And people are saying that's boring. That doesn't leave you shook. There's something wrong with you. And it's called racism. It's called MAGA. Anyway, but okay, on to Fox News and the ignorance that they've been saying. So very specifically, things that they said, other than the corporate capitulation, they said that the Super Bowl halftime performance was, first of all, the worst performance that they've ever seen, which is objectively wrong considering it's literally the most watched, most tuned into ever. I heard them say that nobody knows Kendrick Lamar. He's an unknown artist. Nobody knew any of his songs. He just won 5 Grammys last week for a diss track. A diss track that I have said and will continue to say I think is probably the most popular commercialized diss track of all time. Because what diss track has people singing back at the Super Bowl like that? Obviously, I love Hit 'Em Up. I know it front to back. That's I love it. I love it. I don't think it was as commercially successful as Not Like Us. And I saw Fox say, this is the pinnacle of American white guilt. And just the whole, like, they're talking about it like it's affirmative action. And they're like, this is white people feeling bad and being guilty. Which is not just insulting, but again, the numbers don't lie. 133.5 million people tuned in. Also, I don't know how they count that because I didn't watch it live. I watched it many other places. And I watched it on YouTube right away as soon as it came up. And also the YouTube views for it are already 35 million or 34 million. And it took Usher's YouTube video of his Super Bowl performance a whole year to get to that point. Like, they have the same amount of views. Kendrick's and Usher's halftime performance video. So when Fox and the right side is trying to brand it as a failure, as white people trying to give crumbs to untalented black people who didn't deserve it, and it was the worst show of all time, not only are they lying, and it's such an egregious lie because the numbers are there, but it's also just such a silencing of the community who felt so seen by this. And it's so sad. It's not just sad to see. Like, I know sometimes we're past the point of saying things are sad because we're so angry. Do you know what I'm saying? And we're so outraged. But it is fundamentally sad to see a black man succeed on such a massive scale and be like, wow, that was so boring. White guilt. Does anybody even know who he is? And he's like being so celebrated right now. It's sad that we even have to like address it, but we do. We have to address it. And beyond the genes, you know, beyond the saying it was boring, I think that this will be something that people can look at and study for a very long time. I think it's something that professors should be using and breaking apart and breaking down. Also, though, it was funny when people were saying so much of, because it is true, though, it is true that so much of it went over people's heads, but then some people were like, the hidden messaging. And it's like, it really shouldn't be that hidden. Also, why do I look jacked right now? If you're listening on podcasts, I'm just flexing. Anyway, people saying so much of a hidden message, it shouldn't be that hidden if you do have like experience with stories and literacy. You know, I hate overusing this term media literacy. I actually just think people don't like see musicals enough. And that's like something, that's the hill I'll die on, is that like theater kids are winning right now. It not just in the fact that like you can't AI a theater kid, you can't AI Riz and performance ability and personal skills, the way you can AI everything that was supposed to be a safe job. You know what I'm saying? But just the understanding the seeds and the nuggets and looking for the bigger picture and watching the narrative be tied through the story via this antagonist Uncle Sam. And Kendrick also, like, Kendrick has a really cool style of writing where he can antagonize himself or bounce off another narrator. It could be God, it could be reincarnated people, it could be a partner, it could be this other version of himself. Sometimes it's Uncle Sam. Sometimes it's a panel of black women. It's not always antagonistic, but this conversation piece that makes people bounce off each other and come to a conclusion, right? And so if you're not primed for that, you aren't a theater kid. You may not read very much. And I was gonna say, and that's okay, but it's not that okay. Especially the reading part. You know, I saw a video the other day that was like, if you've read one book this year, you're ahead of what most Americans will read all year. I'm ahead. I have finished one book this year. I'm like halfway through my second one. But that's sad. People don't read. People don't engage thoughtfully with stories. People wouldn't watch something like Les Mis. They might say it's boring. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that sometimes the combination of song and dance in a narrative way is not something that everybody is primed for. And maybe it is a skill that you need to develop. I wouldn't know, because I've always just been obsessed. I've always been. But not to be like cocky, like I wouldn't know, but just I've always been a theater kid at heart. Even though I'm a dancer, I'm actually not a theater kid. Like I'm not like a big actor, but I feel that way, and I do like sing, but not like professionally. But I have. But like I don't. And I don't like act like that, but I obviously talk a lot. So you understand why I identify with theater kid more than, because part of dancing is being silent and not speaking up about things. And that's something I learned being a part of, like, particularly the LA dance community. So I think I sort of associate that with being really, really quiet and really obedient and really hot. And also you have to do all your own styling. It's like, not all your own stuff, but when in the beginning processes, when you're showing up for all these auditions, you have to be so hot, you have to let people treat you like shit, and you have to appear like a person with a stylist and a makeup artist who doesn't sweat and their hair is always perfect, and also get the choreo and freestyle well and give face. It's so fucking much. So much work. What was my point? I'm a theater kid. Yeah, I think that it's sad to see people be like, oh, the hidden messaging. It was pretty obvious. It's pretty blatant, because I think when you're presenting something on a Super Bowl stage, you're aware that the IQ of like the general person of the 133 mil maybe isn't primed for like deep, thoughtful analysis. And even though this was blatant in your face, I don't think this was very hidden messaging. I think it was trying to be quite, hey, can you get this? Listen, look, it's still deep, but it was obvious and it was blatant. It wasn't really trying to be that hidden. But people also won't get it because a lot of people aren't curious. They don't want to know about these things. They don't want to know about 40 acres and a mule, which when he's saying 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. That's what was promised and not given. Right? And so many of his lyrics are talking about the implications of what has been promised and not given. And you also have, the dancers with hoodies. There's a point where they lay down like I interpret it as police brutality, and particularly black youth getting gunned down in the streets. I associate white hoodie up with Trayvon Martin. And also because in college we did do a dance where that was sort of a theme. And that was actually a very hidden undercover theme, because it was actually a Bill T. Jones piece and King Kong and all these things. But generally, the white hoodie up, I associate specifically lying down in a pose like Keith Haring. To me, that symbolizes police brutality, specifically of black youth. So, which is why I think it's interesting when people were talking so much about Kendrick Lamar's jeans. I'm like, there's something so hip-hop to me about the dominant culture questioning the hip-hopness of Kendrick's jeans, being like, oh, those are bell bottoms. Some people are like, it symbolizes the resistance of the 70s, which I understand, but I think these are white women saying this, and I'm like, so he's been wearing these pants for a year straight? Are you saying this whole year has been a tribute to the 70s? No. You just tuned in now and you're making your thesis known, as you do. As one does. You enter a room and you must take the mic. Okay. And so I'm like, listen, I get that it's coming, and I'm not saying it can't symbolize like the resistance of the 70s and the hippies, but when you think of that, you also think of a lot of like white people resistance. And it's not, and I'm not saying that, obviously black people were a big part of the 70s, and obviously I'm sure they wore 70s outfits. I actually love, I don't know if you've seen Saturday Night. It's a good movie. Just watch it on plane. But it's about the making of Saturday Night Live. This is a tangent. This is a tangent. My point is, I think that when there's certain women, middle-aged women being like, it's about the 70s, that it is beautiful in a way that they relate it to the 70s. But to put that on to Kendrick, because you're relating to thinking of like white people in the 70s fighting the power, might be ignoring how much black people are fighting right now, today, in whatever jeans. Like, there's a big difference between being like, I love Kendrick's jeans, and then going onto social media and seeing so many videos as I scroll of women videoing themselves purchasing the jeans or asking where it's from, because to me, that's an action item, and what a waste of an action item from such a revolutionary performance for you to just keep oiling the machine. What a waste of an action item. Like, and that's why I feel like it's the antithesis of the meaning of his performance, because he's saying, turn the TV off, and you heard, buy something else. He said, turn the TV off. Game over. 40 acres and a mule. Too reckless, too ghetto, too loud. And you said, let me find those jeans. I also think that is good for right-wing America, right? For the main headline. And it's not just people on the internet. These are headlines I've seen. headlines about the main thing being his jeans. That is a win for MAGA America, that your main takeaway was the jeans. And the main headline is the jeans and not everything else he said. About 40 acres and a mule. Oh yeah, what happened to that? And I saw this lady on TikTok, older lady, talking about how when she was in school growing up, her education system was teaching her about the Homestead Act. And she was thinking about it in relation to 40 acres and a mule. How the Homestead Act said you could have 160 acres. And just anybody, you could line up, and a bell rang, and then you could line up and go stake your land. And that if people were brought here, enslaved, ripped away from their homes, and then freed but given nothing. And she was also talking about how the Homestead Act was the beginning of generational wealth for a lot of Americans. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that should be the focus. And I think the Uncle Sam thing is genius. And I love that Samuel L. Jackson took that role. But I just hope we can sit with this performance for a while. I hope we rewatch it. I hope nobody believes the lies that, like, Fox News and Tyler Cameron, really? Which makes sense. He's friends with Matt James, by the way. And that's why when this all ties together, because Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell, and then Rachel having those racism allegations of going to the plantation party dressed as a slave master or slave master's wife or whatever. And, you know, the slave master's wife of it all is so interesting because patriarchy is right in there. She didn't own shit. It's not funny. But Rachel Kirkconnell, that situation of it all being related to Matt James, and then Matt James, like, public-facing best friend, or one of his public-facing best friends, being so he made a whole post. Tyler Cameron made a whole post on his feed dedicated to, it said, this is the worst halftime performance ever in history. And all the comments were like, Tyler, take this down. Take this down. Take this. And I think Rachel, the Black Bachelorette, what's her last name? It's not Kirkconnell. I think she had to tell him to take it down. So, and he did. He took it down. Which is, it's even more embarrassing. It's even more embarrassing to make that a feed post and then take it down. But I think that if people are saying that this was the worst halftime show in history, it's not just about missing the symbolism. It's not having the curiosity to care about the symbolism. And it's also just like, you must be so closed off for none of that to faze you. In a way that would scare me. I would be scared to be in the room with someone like that. Because I feel like a fire would go off and they'd be like, oh, what's for dinner? Like, are you really that oblivious? You have such an obsidian wall in front of your mental lobe that you can't let anything of substance in if it's not shiny and shaking? Are you not embarrassed? I don't know. The way people reacted to their performances is so much about them. So much about them. What do you mean it's boring? What do you mean it's boring? Because they were in hoodies? Honestly, last year though, Rihanna, they were in big. Oh wait, no, last year wasn't Rihanna, it was Usher. See, I forgot about Usher. It was a little forgettable to me. But I guess they were shiny. They were shiny and shimmering and, like, giving Vegas, right? Because it was in Vegas. So maybe people thought that was more interesting. And then there was fire, and wasn't there, like, all this glitz and glamour? And I guess that's what people want. And then when it's, like, hip-hop and they're on a street corner and they're bouncing, and then Uncle Sam comes in like the police and says, deduct one life. You think that's boring? You're nuts. You're nuts. I love that street corner scene. The vignettes of it all, right? Bouncing with these like LA vibey folks behind him, and it looks like a street corner because it looks like there was a lamp behind them, and then the way they ran away was like the police were coming. And that's when Uncle Sam says, oh, you used the cheat code, you brought your homies with you, deduct one life, scorekeeper. And you said that was boring? Not only is that offensive and dismissive of like one of the most important facets of American culture and police brutality and policing and racism, but you're also just wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong, and it just shows a disinterest in critically thinking. That's how I feel about that. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.